Just 60 years ago, the land we now know as the United Arab Emirates looked completely different. Instead of futuristic skyscrapers and luxury shopping malls, the region was made up of small desert villages, simple houses made of palm fronds, and communities that survived mainly on fishing, pearl diving, and small trade. Life was hard, resources were scarce, and poverty was everywhere. At that time, most people could never imagine that this desert land would one day become one of the richest and most advanced countries in the world. There were no tall towers, no international airports, and no global reputation for wealth or luxury. In fact, the harsh desert climate and lack of resources made survival itself a challenge. Many families relied on the sea for food, and pearl diving was one of the only ways to earn income. But even that industry collapsed in the 1930s with the rise of cultured pearls from Japan, leaving many in deep poverty. Fast forward to today, and the transformation is almost unbelievable. The UAE is home to some of the tallest buildings in the world, including the Burj Khalifa. Its airlines, such as Emirates and Etihad, connect millions of travelers across the globe. The country has become a hub for business, technology, and tourism. From Formula One races to futuristic museums, the UAE represents success, wealth, and ambition. So how did this incredible transformation happen? How did the UAE go from struggling desert communities to one of the most powerful and wealthiest nations on earth in just a few decades? The answer is a story of vision, leadership, and bold decisions. It is the story of a nation that refused to stay poor, and instead invested in building a future that the world would admire. In this video, we will uncover the full journey of the United Arab Emirates. We'll explore what life was like before oil, how the discovery of oil changed everything, and how the country moved beyond oil to build a modern, diversified economy. We'll also look at the leadership of Sheikh Zayed and others who shaped the nation's destiny, and how the UAE became not just rich, but also influential in culture, travel, and technology. This is not just a story about wealth, it's about vision and resilience. The UAE's transformation is one of the fastest and most dramatic in modern history, and it carries lessons for countries and people all around the world. Make sure to watch until the end, because the journey of the UAE is filled with shocking facts, inspiring achievements, and powerful lessons that you won't want to miss. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. That way, you won't miss any of our future stories about countries, cultures, and incredible transformations from around the world. Before the discovery of oil, life in the region that would become the United Arab Emirates was extremely difficult. The harsh desert environment made survival a daily challenge. With little rainfall, no modern irrigation systems, and limited fertile land, agriculture was almost impossible. Families lived in small villages or scattered desert communities, often in houses built from palm fronds, mud, or coral stone. The intense heat of the summer and the scarcity of fresh water defined everyday life. Most people survived by relying on the sea. Fishing was a crucial source of food, and the Gulf waters provided fish, shellfish, and other resources that sustained coastal communities. But the most famous traditional livelihood was pearl diving. For centuries, men would sail out into the Gulf, dive deep into the waters, and search for natural pearls. These pearls were highly valued across the world, and for many years, they were the backbone of the local economy. However, pearl diving was dangerous and exhausting. Divers risked their lives with little protection, and the work was seasonal, which meant families often lived with long periods of uncertainty. Life inland was even harder. Bedouin tribes moved across the desert with their camels, surviving on dates, milk, and whatever small trade they could find. There were no modern schools, no hospitals, and very few roads. The population was small and scattered, with most people living in poverty. Disease was common, and medical care was almost non-existent. Education was limited to small religious schools, often taught in mosques, where children learned basic reading, writing, and Quranic studies. The economy at that time depended almost entirely on pearling, fishing, and small-scale trade. Goods like dates, textiles, and livestock were exchanged with merchants from India, Persia, and the wider Arab world. But this fragile economy collapsed in the 1930s, when Japan introduced cultured pearls to the global market. Suddenly, natural pearls from the Gulf lost their value, and thousands of families were left with no source of income. Poverty deepened, and many people struggled to survive. By the 1940s and 1950s, the situation was desperate. The British, who had political influence in the region at the time, provided limited assistance, but it was not enough to change the lives of ordinary people. The Trucial States, as the UAE was then known, were among the poorest areas in the Gulf. Many outsiders saw the region as hopeless, with little chance of development. Some families even left to seek work in nearby countries, hoping to escape the difficult conditions. Yet, in the middle of these struggles, the people of the region developed qualities that would later serve them well: resilience, unity, and adaptability. They learned how to survive in one of the world's toughest environments. Families valued community, hospitality, and cooperation. While life was poor in material terms, the culture of generosity and endurance was strong. This period of hardship created the foundation for what was to come. The discovery of oil in the 1950s would change everything, but without the resilience and determination built during these years of poverty, the transformation might not have been possible. The people of the UAE endured decades of struggle before the winds of fortune finally turned in their favor. The turning point for the region came in the 1950s when oil was discovered in Abu Dhabi. At first, the scale of the discovery was not fully understood, but soon it became clear that this resource would change everything. For generations, the people of the Trucial States had lived with scarcity and uncertainty, but now a new opportunity had arrived, an opportunity that could lift the entire region out of poverty. In the early years, oil production was limited and revenues were modest. But even those first shipments of crude brought hope. Roads were built where none had existed before. Small clinics and schools began to appear, funded by oil revenues. Families who once lived in simple palm frond houses started to see modern housing projects emerge. For the first time, people could imagine a future where survival did not depend on pearl diving or harsh desert trade. The impact of oil was not just financial. It created a sense of possibility. Leaders began to think beyond immediate survival and started planning for long-term development. The revenues from oil allowed investments in infrastructure, healthcare, and education, things that had been impossible only a decade earlier. Villages slowly grew into towns, and towns began to take the shape of modern cities. Still, in the 1950s and 1960s, life was not yet luxurious. Oil wealth was only beginning to flow, and the true transformation was still to come. But the discovery of oil marked the beginning of a new chapter. For the first time in history, the people of this desert land had the resources to dream of prosperity, and soon, under visionary leadership, those dreams would turn into reality. The true transformation of the region began in 1971, when the United Arab Emirates was officially formed. 7 emirates, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Fujairah, Al Quwain, and later Ras Al Khaimah, united under a single flag. This was not only a political decision, but a bold vision for the future. At the heart of this vision was Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan of Abu Dhabi, often called the father of the nation, whose leadership set the course for the UAE's remarkable rise. Sheikh Zayed believed that oil was not an end, but a means. He often said that wealth is not measured by money, but by the welfare of the people. Instead of simply exporting oil and accumulating wealth, he directed revenues toward building schools, hospitals, housing, and infrastructure. He understood that true progress required investing in human development and ensuring that every citizen benefited from the nation's resources. During the 1970s, oil revenues began to flow more substantially, and the impact was visible everywhere. In Abu Dhabi, modern roads, bridges, and government buildings rose from what had once been a small fishing village. Dubai, already a trading hub, expanded its ports and airports, positioning itself as a gateway for global commerce. Electricity grids were extended, clean water systems were introduced, and modern housing projects replaced simple palm frond huts. Daily life changed rapidly, and families that had lived in poverty for generations suddenly found themselves in a modernizing nation. Education was a cornerstone of Sheikh Zayed's vision. Schools were built across the Emirates, and scholarships allowed young Emiratis to study abroad and bring back valuable skills. This investment created a new generation of professionals, engineers, doctors, teachers, who would drive the country forward. Healthcare also advanced quickly, with hospitals and clinics offering services that were unimaginable only a decade earlier. Another unique element of Sheikh Zayed's leadership was his commitment to unity and inclusivity. He welcomed people from around the world to live and work in the UAE, creating a diverse and multicultural society. Foreign expertise helped accelerate growth, while Emiratis gained experience working alongside international professionals. This openness distinguished the UAE from many other countries and laid the foundation for its role as a global hub. By the end of the 1970s, the difference was extraordinary. The UAE had gone from scattered desert communities to a unified nation with growing cities, modern infrastructure, and a clear vision for the future. Oil had provided the financial resources, but it was leadership, unity, and strategic planning that turned wealth into real progress. The stage was set for the UAE to move beyond survival and to become one of the most dynamic countries in the region. Sheikh Zayed's vision during the early years of the United Arab Emirates was not just about building roads and cities, it was about building a nation. He understood that oil wealth was temporary, but human development could last forever. For him, the true measure of success was not how much oil the country exported, but how well its people lived. Under his leadership, revenues from oil were directed into programs that improved education, healthcare, and housing. Schools multiplied across the Emirates, ensuring that every child had access to learning. Hospitals and clinics expanded, bringing modern medical care to communities that once had none. Housing projects gave families safe and comfortable homes, replacing the simple huts of the past. These changes created a sense of dignity and hope for a population that had lived in poverty for generations. Sheikh Zayed also focused on preserving traditions while embracing modernity. He encouraged environmental projects, including the planting of millions of trees to fight desertification, and invested in clean water systems to make life sustainable in the harsh desert climate. At the same time, he opened the country to the world, welcoming people of all nationalities to live and work in the UAE. This combination of preserving culture and embracing diversity gave the young nation a unique identity. By the early 1980s, the results of his vision were clear. The UAE was no longer just a collection of small desert communities. It had become a modern state with infrastructure, education, and healthcare systems that rivaled many developed nations. The foundations of prosperity had been laid, but Sheikh Zayed's message remained constant. Oil is a resource, not a guarantee. The future of the UAE would depend on how wisely it used its wealth and how committed it remained to investing in its people. By the 1990s and early 2000s, the leaders of the United Arab Emirates understood a critical truth: oil would not last forever. While oil wealth had provided the foundation for growth, the nation could not depend on it indefinitely. Sheikh Zayed, and later the next generation of leaders, focused on a bold strategy to diversify the economy. Their vision was to transform the UAE into a hub for tourism, aviation, finance, real estate, and technology. Dubai became the symbol of this ambition. With limited oil reserves compared to Abu Dhabi, Dubai sought to reinvent itself as a global city. The construction of the Jebel Ali port, the largest man-made port in the world, positioned Dubai as a key trade gateway. Emirates Airline, founded in 1985, rapidly grew into one of the most successful airlines on the planet, connecting Dubai to destinations across every continent. This aviation strategy turned the UAE into a crossroads of global travel, with millions of passengers passing through Dubai and Abu Dhabi each year. tourism also became a central pillar of diversification. Leaders invested in world-class infrastructure, luxury hotels, shopping malls, and entertainment. Projects such as the Palm Jumeirah, the Burj Al Arab, and later the Burj Khalifa captured international attention. These developments were not just symbols of wealth, they were strategic investments to make the UAE a destination for travelers worldwide. By the 2000s, Dubai was welcoming millions of tourists annually, generating significant revenue beyond oil. Real estate and construction fueled another wave of growth. Entire neighborhoods, business districts, and skyscrapers rose from the desert. The skyline of Dubai became one of the most iconic in the world, symbolizing ambition and modernity. Abu Dhabi also invested heavily in culture and education, creating institutions such as the Louvre Abu Dhabi and NYU Abu Dhabi to attract global talent and foster knowledge-based industries. Technology and innovation were also prioritized. The UAE launched free zones like Dubai Internet City and Dubai Media City to attract global tech companies and startups. Investments in renewable energy, such as the Masdar City project, reflected the nation's forward-thinking approach to sustainability. These efforts showed that the UAE was not only preparing for a future beyond oil, but also aiming to lead in new industries. What made the UAE's diversification strategy unique was its speed and scale. Few countries in history have managed to reinvent themselves so quickly. In just a few decades, the UAE went from relying almost entirely on oil to having multiple thriving sectors. The country had positioned itself as a financial hub, a tourist destination, and a leader in innovation, all while maintaining political stability and security. By embracing globalization, openness, and bold ambition, the UAE created a model for how an oil-rich nation could transform itself. The desert land that once struggled for survival had become a dynamic and diversified economy that captured the world's imagination. Today, the UAE is recognized not only for its wealth, but also for its influence on the global stage. Dubai and Abu Dhabi, in particular, have become symbols of the country's ambition and success. Dubai, with its futuristic skyline, is known as a playground for innovation, luxury, and tourism. The Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, stands as a powerful symbol of how far the nation has come in such a short time. Abu Dhabi, the political capital, has balanced tradition and modernity. While it holds most of the UAE's oil wealth, it has invested heavily in culture, sustainability, and education. Projects like the Louvre Abu Dhabi and Masdar City highlight the Emirates' vision to be more than just an oil producer. It seeks to be a global leader in knowledge, culture, and renewable energy. Together, Dubai and Abu Dhabi represent the two faces of the UAE's success: global commerce and cultural sophistication. The nation has built a brand that goes far beyond oil. It is now seen as a hub for travel, business, and innovation, as well as a country that values tolerance and diversity. More than 200 nationalities live and work in the UAE, making it one of the most multicultural societies in the world. From the deserts of the past to the skyscrapers of today, the UAE's transformation is breathtaking. Its journey proves that with vision, leadership, and determination, a nation can redefine itself and inspire the world. The story of the UAE is not just about wealth, it is about ambition, creativity, and the courage to dream big. The story of the United Arab Emirates is one of the most remarkable transformations in modern history. In less than a single lifetime, the UAE went from a collection of small desert communities where people struggled to survive on pearl diving and fishing, to one of the wealthiest and most dynamic nations on Earth. The shift is so dramatic that it often feels like a miracle, yet it was not luck, but vision, leadership, and determination that made it possible. Oil provided the initial spark, but it was the wisdom of leaders like Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan that ensured those resources were used to build a nation, not just a fortune. Schools, hospitals, and housing projects turned poverty into dignity. roads, airports, and ports connected the Emirates to the world. And as the years went on, the country looked beyond oil, embracing tourism, aviation, real estate, and technology to create a diversified economy. Today, the UAE is not only a center for wealth and business, but also a symbol of ambition and possibility. From the Burj Khalifa to the Louvre Abu Dhabi, from Emirates Airlines to Masdar City, the nation shows what can be achieved when bold vision meets action. More importantly, the UAE has become a place where cultures from around the world come together, making it home of the most diverse and forward-looking societies on the planet. The lesson of the UAE is clear. Even the harshest beginnings do not define the future. With strong leadership, a focus on people, and the courage to dream big, transformation is possible. What do you think? Could other countries achieve the same kind of miracle? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories of nations, cultures, and incredible transformations from around the world.